All right. Everyone for their attendance, and if the minutes can reflect the attendance of the various trustees and staff. Let's move forward. Item 3, entertain a motion for the approval of the 1220 Village Board and the file of 10-6 Special Park and Rec Board, 12-6 Finance Committee, 12-13 Board of Public Works, 12-14 Public Safety Committee meeting minutes as presented.
Make the motion.
Second.
Second, as always, comments, questions, clarifications on the minutes. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Anybody in the audience wishing to be heard on a non-agenda item? Let's move on to item 5. This is presented by the president tonight. Pam King from the Chambers here to give us the 2021 tourism report. Pam?
Where you go now? Where do I sit? Do I stand right where I am?
We have to sit someplace where they can hear you online.
So what does
if you
that
wanna-
mean?
If you could just step up here, that'd be fine.
Like this?
Sure.
Okay.
That'd be perfect.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound like a silly person, but sometimes it's just the new way of life is crazy. So all of you should have received copies of our tourism report to the village. I just wanted to give you a little bit of extra updates on some things we've done that I didn't include in the report, just so you could see what else is going on. I think, clearly 2021 was better than 2020, but still not anywhere near where we would like to be relative to tourism promotion, tourism activity, visitors to our community. What does that look like? We're not there yet, and hopefully we're going to get closer to getting there than further away. But I think, we're trying to make some very concerted efforts to gear ourselves up to get readier for tourism than perhaps we have in the past. Certainly one of the best things I heard recently was that we are closer in the running to the 2024 Republican National Convention. And that will be a great goal for us to strive for, to be really up and running and back to where we wanted to be in 2020. So I think that's a good goal for us to have. As was stated in my report, certainly we didn't change a whole lot in 2020 because there wasn't a whole lot to really move the needle for us to really invest a lot of money. It's difficult for me to justify spending a lot of money on things that we're not going to see return on investment on. And in 2020, we were so tenuous in understanding what our visitors might look for or want to do or be coming for. Our hotels did well, better than, certainly better than 2019, as you saw, as you're seeing in your reports. We're not far off from where we were in 2019 in terms of room tech, so that's a very exciting positive move forward for us. As my report shows you, we're still waiting, and after connecting with Paul, Comfort Inn hasn't paid their third quarter, so we haven't received it yet, so I can't show you apples to apples where we were, but it does look like we're on the right trajectory. It looks like we're moving forward in a good way relative to tourism promotion and I'm sorry, room tax. So I think those are good things. I think our online presence and the things we did to promote our community as a place for people to visit, to walk, to view, to see, we had more requests and a lot more interaction related to the Blues and our history and what can I come and see, and what is there in Grafton to do. Interim trail figures for 2019 and 2020 were way beyond what anyone ever could have imagined. But we all understand that outdoor tourism really is what made a difference for our state throughout the pandemic. And so the fact that we have an asset like the Interurban Trail is huge for us and gives us some guarantees of will always be a place that people want to come because they can stay outside and ride on a bike trail. Does it put heads in beds? No, probably not. Does it affect our room tax dollars? Not significantly for us to know that. When people stay at the hotels and they ask what they're staying for, it's not typically to ride the Interurban Trail, but our day trippers are certainly, clearly impactful. And the questions they call or the emails they send us about have to do with when I come. A couple of things. Are there parks? Are there restrooms? Is there good parking? Can we eat? Are there restaurants on the trail? So we know they're taking advantage of our services. So those are all great things and hopefully brings them back to us. We certainly struggled in our staffing in the chamber office, like many. Finding the right fit for us is much more important to me than finding a body to sit at the tourism promotion desk in my office. And so I've held off and I haven't been real eager to hire someone to just be a secretary. We need someone who understands social media. We need someone who understands how to engage people, how to get us more likes on Facebook, how to get what we're doing and how to grow and build and create tours and some of the things that I showed you. Those tours that we did in 2021 or in early 2020 and 2021, the Downtown Blues History Tour and the Nature Tour and the self-guided downtown tours and craft brewery tours. Those have all been really helpful for us. We know people are looking for that information. We're getting a lot of traction on that on our website. So people, you know, the way we're all viewing going to visit places is different than it was prior to 2019. And so we want self-guided. We don't want a lot of contact. We don't want to have a lot of touch points. We maybe don't want to pay in person. We want to pay online. So, you know, rethinking that has certainly been a new way of life for me in my office, and I'm sure here at the village as well. And feeling like we're going to get back to a normal, I don't know what that is, to be very honest with you. And so trying to figure out how to move forward is certainly something that I think I sent Jim an email and said, we really need to sit down and focus on and get our tourism promotion development committee back on track, because we sort of taken a hiatus to say, what are we promoting and what are we developing right now? We're in the midst of a pandemic, and we went from anticipating $300,000 in room tax to receiving barely 75,000. So how do you, that, you know, that just pays for our, to keep the lights on kind of thing. So, but now I think we're moving in a better way. So getting that back on track, I think is imperative for us, as well as Celebrate Grafton. It's imperative for us to sort of figure out how to move forward with our festivals, whether or not to grow them, what that looks like, what the infrastructure is needed to do that, because it is bigger definitely than the chamber and bigger than Celebrate Grafton. And so what does that look like, and how does the village play, you know, what role does the village and Park and Rec and DPW and fire and police, you know, how do we move forward with all of those things and do it smartly and in a way that makes sense? And certainly after the huge horrible tragedy in Waukesha and what that meant for their parade and what it looked like for our parade and the infrastructure it took for us to get that to work, which kudos to all of you for, you know, for what our village can do. But how can we sustain that? Can we move forward with that kind of security, that kind of safety? Well, we have to. And if we do, I think that's a $10,000 day. And is that a $10,000 day we can afford more than once in a year? And if it is, great. And we have to figure it out. And if it isn't, then we have to retool that as well. So, you know, again, that whole normal and what is it and standing operating procedure, I have nothing. I don't have a standard operating procedure anymore, because the minute I do, it kind of goes off the rails. Our social media is probably the most impactful thing we've seen. We reached, just in the month of December, I checked this morning, we reached over 12,000 people in 2 weeks, and we engaged over 4,000 in our home decorating contest. So that speaks volumes, and none of that was paid in terms of boosting or anything else. So our reach is amazing, and the people coming back to us is pretty astounding as well. Our Visit Grafton page, which is not quite as beefed up as our chamber page, also reaches about 600, 700, 800 people in every post we do, which means that people are connecting to us and seeing what we do. Now, if they're liking it or if they're sharing it, those numbers are smaller. You know, if we get about a 10 or a 12% return on that investment of free, nothing to post, that's pretty good when you think about it. And our shares have grown, so people are really engaged, are getting more and more engaged with us. I'm not sure how much more how many more details you want me to give you, or how long you want me to go. I could go on forever and ever. What I've made copies of for you are, we are at the point in time where we commit to ads in state and local publications at around this time of year for the tourism season that starts April, May, June. These are 4 campaigns that we have just committed, or we have just created our ads for. As you can see, we continue to agree to the commitment of and believe in the commitment of any ads we do in tourism publications include the Chamber Tourism Promotion Development website, logo and the village logo. We believe we're partners and we will always be partners. Some of the things that are enhanced with the Celebrate Grafton are because they're relative to Celebrate Grafton activities, but everything we put in print and everything that's online in terms of advertising incorporates both the village and the chamber. And we believe that that's a really good message to send to people. The first one, the Visit Milwaukee map, that's a map that's put out by Visit Milwaukee. We are kind of a point outside of the metropolitan Milwaukee area. I see that as an advantage because by putting an ad in it, it kind of puts our dot on the map when it's not really Milwaukee. So it kind of brings your eye to that more than it might otherwise. So the ad is the ad, and then they ask for more pictures of sort of some representative landmarks. And so those were the ones we chose this year for that. The Special Events Planner is a new publication that is a statewide publication that is going to be focused primarily on events for the summer and fall. So really our tourism kind of timeline. There are about 80,000 of these distributed throughout the state of Wisconsin. And so that's that Special Events Planner. The Fun in Wisconsin magazine, similar kind of a reach. Just kind of the idea of visiting Grafton is important. The Wisconsin Bike Trails magazine is something we've done for quite some time. And they gave us a deal because we host a part of the Tour of America's Dairyland. In addition to giving us an ad, they've also given us some editorial space. So that's the back page of that. So we were able to kind of write a story, not really a story, but just give us a little more editorializing about who we are and what we do. Ozaukee County Tourism Guide, which is on the top. I'm sorry, I neglected that one. We print 35,000 of those. They are distributed throughout the state of Wisconsin at visitors bureaus all over the state. And we also, fulfillment happens for them out of the Port Tourism Office. This year, I am the president of Ozaukee County Tourism, and it's really not. It's a rotating thing, and it just happens to be my turn. So I think this is my third or fourth time on. It's my turn, but I'm happy to be there, and it's a good thing. And what we've been able to do relative to our hiring and our staffing, and I think it will give us a great advantage, is we're going to combine 5 hours of Ozaukee County tourism job and 30 to 35 hours of our job and make it a full-time job. And we do believe that that's really going to give us what we needed to get people on board to work for us. A part-time job at $17 to $19 an hour is a tough get, and yet we need the hours we need. And so if I'm a waitress and I'm supposed to work weekends, but you have to work for me the bike race and fall into Grafton and 4th of July and the Christmas parade, it becomes a juggling act that's just become too complicated. So I'm very excited about trying to merge those two things in an effort to get us a quality candidate. And I think we're on the right path. What would you like to hear?
Okay, well, why don't we just have you open up for any comments or questions from the board?
I just want to say, Pam, thanks for keeping us normal over the last 2 years and coming up with new ideas to make people think it's still normal. So I think you've done an outstanding job. Thanks.
Thank you. It's not normal.
Kim, I just had one question on the back where it lists the budget.
Yep.
Under expenses, capital expenditures, and I'm sorry if I missed this in the report. Are you going to be doing something a little bit different to your office or capital expenditures?
No, capital expenditures would be that part. I'm sorry.
Oh.
That's probably the most exciting, happy thing, that's the most positive move forward. We did apply for a grant to redevelop the Blues Marker Park. We don't know if we got it yet, but I think what it did was rejuvenate the idea of we really need to go back to that idea. And we had committed to, prior to COVID, the $32,000 for the RFP, all of that. What we want to do is whether or not we get that grant. We want to start to say we need to have money in the capital fund that earmarks so that we can move forward with that park regardless of the grant. It's just going to be a different strategy. So that 15,000 is sort of if we have to start something, that will be the least amount that we would be able to put forward.
Okay.
We want to start to designate in addition to the restricted funds that we've done already and want to continue.
Okay, because that was significantly different there.
Yes.
I didn't know if you
Yes.
were doing something at
No.
your office.
No, and typically if we were going to do anything at our office, unless, it would be half us and half you. That's kind of, or I'm sorry, half room tax and half chamber. So, that would be if we ever spent that much money, I would be driving a Cadillac or something.
I was thinking you were getting a nice new spot, so.
No, we love where we are, actually. It's a great location for us and extremely affordable and allows us to do a lot of other things.
Okay, other comments, questions?
Farmers market is-
Hey, just a quick comment here from Titletown District up in Green Bay. Pam, wow, what a year. I think you've done and your team has done such a great job for our community, keeping us on the map in a very difficult time. Great job. Thank you for all you do and keeping Grafton on the map. Really appreciate it.
Okay, Amy?
And the farmers market is not going to happen this summer.
So we decided to step back and reevaluate that. I was talking with someone this morning. I think Jim was a part of the original farmers market and the idea of bringing it to Grafton. And it was in the parking lot that used to be a part of the Grafton Ski and Cycle Area. So it was on the corner of Highway 60 and 12th Avenue, and it was the only game in town. Nobody else did farmers markets. It was brilliant. We had great traffic. People were excited about it. And then, as everyone says, certainly imitation is the best form of flattery. We get copied a lot. And now farmers markets are pretty readily available. The Saturday farmers market has really taken the market from everyone else, so to speak. So, and the Mequon Thiensville huge market where they created a park, those are challenges that we faced. And even the number of farms out there to get to vend has become a new challenge. Bud Schmidt, who has been in our market forever, this year could not get someone to work in our market. So we couldn't have that fresh produce. So doing it just to do it and sort of pretend has just taken us away from what the impact that kind of event should have. So we decided we need to step away, look at it, wait and hear how many thousands of people tell us they missed it. And then when they tell us that, retool it to come back. Doing a market on a Saturday, while some people think that's a great idea, if Port Washington has one, if West Bend has one, and they're both amazing, how are we going to get vendors to come and be at ours? We're not. And why? So that's the juggling. So we did a winter market 2 years ago that we really loved. We worked and got great traction on it. And so we'd like to try and focus a little more on that and make that more of a thing. And just see this year, because last year was really not good. Just not good.
So I only had two things that you already touched on. So you're looking at redoing Annalise's
Yes,
position.
yes.
And then the hope was that we would have an answer on the grant by the end of the year. Clearly, we haven't. Do you have heard anything?
I have not heard anything. I have contacted our Department of Tourism, State Department of Tourism, and asked them if they've got any inklings of anything, and they don't know anything yet. I reached out to the state, the organization that's backing the grants, and they said it's harder than we thought. But I don't know what that.
So they're still in the evaluation.
We're still in the evaluation process, from what I understand.
Okay.
And I'll just piggyback on that. I just applaud you and village staff for putting that grant application together. I read through it. It's fantastic. How could that not get approved?
Well,
Yeah.
Jessica's behind there, and
I
she
know.
was a huge part of it. Amber was a part of meetings. Jesse was a part of meetings. I think, I think they give you this much time and they give you 3 lines and say in 3 lines, you have to say these things. And so having to weed out things, I don't know how they would make decisions on $10 million based on the information they got from us,
But the Historical Society, when I brought that to the board's attention, they were very excited and we would love to see something happen out there. And would love to also partner with sharing that part of Grafton history. Whatever we can plan to put together, because it really will help put Grafton on the map for so many other people. I've had people call me about asking whether or not Grafton is going to be doing any blues type concerts anymore, or if there's anyone around that's doing blues concerts. So there's a great interest out there, and love to make this Grafton a destination for people.
I would agree. We have been approached on the Paramount recording. Paramount Association would like to come back to Grafton with a festival this year. There's pros and cons to that. And I'd love to have that conversation with any of you at any time, but I think, do we want to move forward with something and make it ours? Yes, I think we do. I'm not sure how that works. How's that?
Yeah, I think, as far as the park, if nothing else, we have a great conceptual design.
Yes,
I think, we did, work through several iterations, and I think the company that was doing the design work really understood where we were trying to go, and we came up with a great design, so keep your fingers crossed.
well, and I think, again, whether or not we get a yes, I think if we get a no, then we look at what does a phasing project look like, and what are the dollars it takes to get us there, and then how do we move forward to do that in the way we wanted to do 2 years ago. And I think we want to go back to the idea of, we talked about wanting to put murals in the downtown. We talked about wanting to do some other things in the downtown. And I'm hopeful that over the next, 12 to 18 months, we can really revisit some of that and get ourselves back on track with those things that really enhance what already makes Grafton special.
All right, so nice report, as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. We are nothing and can do nothing with our, 5 foot and 5'7" person in our office. And so the heavy lifting that the village trustees do, our fire department, our police department, our park and rec, our DPW, our village community development director, we can't do anything without you. So thank you.
Yeah, that's why they call it a partnership.
We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item 6, resolutions, ordinance, action items. I have a request to table item 8. That is what you asked for, Betsy?
Correct. The notices through the clerk's office, there was some administrative difficulties there, so therefore we're asking this to be tabled to ensure all notices reach their destination prior to us taking action.
Okay, so I can motion table.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to item B, which is the finance committee. I ask a motion to request the village board approve the reclassification of the community development department assessment technician position to administrative assistant to be approved.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and second, final comments, questions on that item. It's been discussed a couple
Yeah,
times.
I do if I may.
Okay.
So, Jesse, I did want to review again with you.
Sure.
because, I think when we had the discussion at the last finance, it may have been confusing, so that may have been on me. The point I was trying to make about that position is I am great that we changed the wording to administrative assistant from administrative secretary.
Correct, right.
Okay, so the only other concern I have is that we are making this position administrative assistant 2. And I think maybe that's just because we rolled over the previous term, which was
Yeah.
administrative secretary 2.
Right.
So we have administrative assistants 1
Yes,
are at a higher pay.
correct. They're the
Well,
primary. Yep.
So the other examples we have that I can point out to you is that we have a library page
Mhm.
and we have a library page 2.
Okay.
And that's at level 3 and 5. We have a library assistant 7 and a library assistant 2. Library assistant in pay grade 7.
Sure.
Library assistant pay grade 9. We have the firefighter paramedic, 1 in category 14 and 2 in category 16. So it looks like the 2s are always above.
Sure.
So my only proposal was that we just switch those numbers from 1 to 2, administrative assistant 1, which sits at 12, would now
Yeah.
be 2, and the lower level of pay would be 1.
We could do that, or to simplify it even further, just simply say administrative assistant, community development, or in this case, and then administrative assistant 1 would be that primary, that higher level. I guess it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. I don't mean to make light of it. I think it could be done several different ways. Switching the 1s and the 2s between the 2 descriptions could work. I guess I would have to ask, can we accomplish that with the way the matter is agended this evening? I guess, Mike, I would have to ask for a bit of clarification. I would not want to run afoul of that.
I think it was just an oversight when the recommendation was made to change the wording.
That's my.
I think you can.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So we could switch it.
I don't have a problem with
Then I would, yeah, then I guess,
that. I would say if you want to. Administrative assistant one be approved, then you can deal with any.
updating the,
paperwork that's just administrative.
updating the other job description to reflect, yes, I can do that.
So I mean, the action item is just the position of administrative assistant one.
Mhm.
Be approved with the, I would say with the, activity to update the administrative assistant. one.
I can do that.
In pay grade 12.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So with that being said, I'll entertain that motion. Oh, we have a motion second. Any final comments on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Perfect.
That motion
Thank you.
passes. Let's move on to item C, report of the Board of Public Works. We have two items. Item one is a motion to approve the Headworks project change order number 4 be approved.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and it looks like it is more clerical.
It's just a clerical change in the final payment date for DNR. It will not change any
Right.
contractual verbiage besides that.
Okay, all right. Any comments for? Okay, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion passes. Item 2 is a motion to accept the proposal from Core and Me to purchase 701 5/8 inch meters and 669 radio registers for a cost not to exceed $156,290.16 be approved.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Let's move on to item D. Item D is report of the Public Safety Committee. Item 1 is a motion to approve acceptance of 2 donations from Dottie Andrews in the amount of $25.50 and to return the $200 donation to Mark Bruno of the Town of Grafton be approved.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion and a second and.
If I may, for the record, yes, if I may, for the record, the returning of the donation is simply to recognize that it was the sheriff's department that responded to that particular call and not the Grafton Police Department. So just, Mr. Bruno has been informed and there has been communication there from our police department. So just want to make that clear for the record.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Item 2 is a motion to approve ordinance 10.36020, no parking at specified times on Overland Court from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday on the north side of Overland Court from 9th Avenue to a point 390 feet to the east on the west edge of the family sharing driveway and on the south side of Overland Court from 9th Avenue to a point 411 feet to the east be approved.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any questions on that?
I just have one.
Yeah.
Do you know if family sharing was notified about that?
No, ma'am, they were not. I apologize on that.
Okay.
It really is not gonna affect them any, because the area that is gonna be blocked off, for no parking, there's actually, a fire hydrant there
Okay.
anyway. So they couldn't park there, and then the end of the driveway, where the loading docks are, they park well beyond that anyhow, so it's really not gonna make a big difference.
Okay, all right.
But I will reach out to them. I failed to do so because I've just been swamped.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Move on, department and officers, of course, we have fire and EMS study update.
Yes, Chief Rice and I wanted to come before the board this evening and just simply give an update of this longstanding project. Briefly reviewing phase 1 of the study, phase 1 of this project, study completed by the Wisconsin Policy Forum last year, helped provide guidance that consolidation of fire EMS services in different forms, fashions, whether it be through training equipment or actual operations consolidation, could prove beneficial. That being said, it was agreed upon by consensus among the Ozaukee communities to draft a request for proposals for a more in-depth study, in essence, a phase 2 study, which would be a much more granular look at possible scenarios. What cost savings could be generated? What additional costs could be experienced? What would the funding mechanisms look like? What would the governance mechanisms look like under different types of consolidation scenarios? That said, the group of administrators and fire chiefs were going down a path of crafting a draft request for proposals. And we were to a certain point, the Ozaki Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Jim Johnson came forward and offered the potential use of county ARPA funding to fund 18 total firefighter EMT positions throughout 6 locations within Ozaki County. That being said, that put the request for proposals process kind of on hold as we switched gears as a group to focus on that offer by Ozaki County. A subgroup of our working group, and again, the working group is the various administrators and fire chiefs from throughout the county. So a smaller group of folks went to meet with the sheriff and county administrator to discuss what exactly were they offering by being willing to make a presentation to the county board for the use of ARPA funds for firefighter EMTs and addressing the staffing issues within the county. That said, there was a follow-up then coming back to our working group with ideas to include a proposal back to the county, updating the CAD system, the dispatching system to help give more information to outgoing fire and EMS responders. Also a clarification of how it could be staffed in different locations throughout the county, being those 18 total firefighter EMS positions. That said, the subgroup is looking to follow back up with the sheriff and county administrator. Chief Rice does represent Grafton on that subgroup. So with that, I would ask Chief Rice to hop in and kind of speak to the subgroup's efforts to this point.
So unfortunately, the process is really kind of dragging along. We have a lot of groups represented. So when we meet, we have a lot of different views on how to move forward. And then we're just representatives, fire chiefs and administrators that some are extremely concerned about going back to their agencies to make sure their elected officials know what are going on, what's going on. I think we've been pretty good about that in Grafton, Saukville, but a few of the other communities. It just seems like it's you take one giant step forward, and then just when we think we're going to go to the next level, maybe go to the county board and present something, then we take a couple steps back to have another meeting to get into some more detail. So I think about it all the time. I wish I had the right answer. I wish I could put my finger on the problem. I can't really identify it, but it's a slow process. The help, I think we all know the help is needed badly throughout our county, not just right here. This opportunity to use ARPA funds is very an excellent idea to get some boots on the ground, if you will, until a greater solution can be found. But it's just, we're really struggling now to get to the county board to say, we have a suggestion on how you should use some of that money. It's the 3 things. It's the it's temporary personnel that would hopefully work into a future department. And the second part is the administrator had mentioned upgrading the CAD system so they know what EMS units are or fire units are in service on any given day. And so they can send the closest, most appropriate. There's some money involved there, but the bigger fee is for the next consolidation study. So the first study wasn't a study on consolidation. It was a study on the problem. And they said, you have a big problem, you need to act on it quickly. But they didn't say what it should really look like. It offered up some examples of what new departments or departments might look like. And that's what this next study would do, is it would look at a county-wide department and possibly throw out some other examples. And that's where we start getting into the mud, is what those other examples would look like, how many there should be. That's what we're trying to work on right now, to get this thing off to the county board so they can start asking questions. Because essentially it's money they're responsible for. That's essentially where we're at right now. We have another meeting coming up, Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday.
All right, thanks, chief. Any questions for chief?
So is there a deadline on when you're gonna get back to the sheriff or the county?
We have a meeting on Wednesday, and I'm hoping after that meeting, we will then go and ask for a date to go to the county board. But it just seems like every time we think we're at that next step, something slows us down. So it's hard to say.
Yes, Lisa?
No, I'm not sure who to ask, so, and as I understand it, those ARPA funds, like when we're gonna use our ARPA funds, those are really only, money's only good for 2 years. And then is most of the problem that after the 2-year period, where are we gonna get more money?
That has been part of the discussion. It was a very frank point brought up during our larger work group meeting. And at this point right now, where we've landed, if you will, to answer that question is, in essence, that's our commitment from the local side. When we go to speak to the county board, our commitment to the county board is that if you were to allocate ARPA funds for this reason, to help this temporarily solve this staffing issue, or address, I won't say solve, to temporarily address the staffing issue throughout the county, our commitment at the local level is continuing to work not only amongst ourselves, but with you, the county, to find a permanent solution. Because absolutely nobody wants to be the governing body that brings in help only to have that help go away after a short amount of time, about 3 years. So that's where we ended up, but that has been a very pointed topic, and it actually really slowed down the conversation for a good part of one of our meetings, to the extent of we were basically stymied amongst the work group until we came to the conclusion, wait a minute, let's use that. And we know we have to do this, and it's very important to all of us. We can agree upon that, being that we need to find that solution. So that is our commitment that we want to help represent to the county board.
And then my other question, tailing on to that is, do you think it would help if each community did their own recommendation, so to speak, from Grafton to the Ozark County Board? Hey, we would
Sure.
like you to, entertain
Sure.
that, working on this process so that that money can be distributed.
Individual resolutions along that lines?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that works.
I mean, this is a consolidation.
Yeah.
This is a county-wide issue.
Mhm.
You know, I think that it definitely needs to be resolved at the county level. I mean, one of the things I would fear is, we're not, what I'm liking hearing is to find a permanent solution,
Mhm.
not to temporarily fund a couple of EMPs to be parked at various things and then have no answer in 3 years. I mean, one of the things that we don't want to do as a village is we don't want to commit a future board, whether it be us or whomever, to a financial obligation, right? To a financial obligation that hasn't been fully vetted out at the county level. That would be very expensive. That would be putting future board budgets at severe risk. But I like the way the chief and Jesse provided, stated, yeah, we're happy to commit to finding a permanent solution. But I would agree if the direction is, we can't just carte blanche say, yeah, we'll commit to taking 2 EMTs with no way of funding it, no way of permanently knowing what that funding source is going to be in 2 years.
Oh, I wasn't recommending that. Yeah, no,
I
I
mean,
just thought if we could say, hey, yes, we feel this is important. That's all.
Yeah, and if it's a matter of just reinforcing the process, absolutely, hey, let's get going.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just to reinforce and say the village would really
Yeah.
like you to take this seriously, and we're all hurting.
Because the clock is ticking, so
Yeah.
that's 6 months has gone by already almost.
yeah, that's not.
Yeah, that's all I was asking.
Yeah, that's, well,
And,
Yeah, I know.
sometimes those suggestions or proclamations or resolutions can be a little touchy, but.
anything else for the chief, for Jesse?
outside of this report?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have a good representation from all department heads, so Jesse, do you have any other questions?
Just a couple of items. At our last meeting, I did report how the Circuit Court of Appeals had allowed OSHA's vaccination rule. In the meantime, the Supreme Court has ruled that OSHA did overstep their authority and has struck down that mandated vaccine and testing requirements. That said, the court battles linger, so that is still in flux. Again, I have no inclination to recommend any sort of a mandatory vaccine program here in Grafton unless a law were to dictate it. I believe it would be very distraction amongst our workforce. And so unless there is some ruling which would govern that, I would not feel comfortable recommending such a program here locally. So that is the current legal status of that pending that work rule. I'm happy to report that finally, all of the parts and pieces for the fence project at Centennial Park have been delivered. On Friday, we took delivery of the post caps over at the Parks Department. And so that said, the final installation of the project will be carried out over the winter months. It has been requested previously, the employee survey results and the accompanying action plan. Our department heads are finalizing their comments. I will have that put together and in the village board's mailboxes for their information later this week. Lions Park ice skating is open today. It has reached the minimum of 8 inches of ice that we want to see for safe skating. It is anticipated Betts Park will be opening in the coming days, barring any significant change in the weather. So we're definitely trending in the right direction there. Last but not least, I'm also very happy to report that we late last week on Friday, I set forth 3 offers of employment to fill the public works, utility, and community development positions. As of this morning, all 3 were accepted. So we are carrying out pre-employment screenings later this week, and then more information will be forthcoming, assuming those are passed. So just happy to report offers were extended and accepted, and we are moving forward at filling those. So that is the latest and greatest.
Yeah, Jesse, I think we're a little behind on getting the house and find expenditures.
I will check on the status of that.
I believe the last one was from October.
Okay, I will check on the status of that
And then the only other
and
thing I
get those
wanted
out.
to ask, because I didn't really know when to ask it, was to ask Mike, I guess, if I see we're supposed to go into closed session later. But I know that somebody, Dave, is not here and is not able to participate. So I guess my question to you, Mike, is when the call comes to put us into closed session, can we vote no?
I think you can, I mean, or you can vote to table or postpone.
Okay, I didn't know if that.
That's
Okay.
the preferred will of the group.
Okay, other questions? Yeah.
Jesse, has there been any feedback about the cleaning service overall from any of the departments at all?
Not necessarily favorable, so we are looking forward to this spring on rebidding it as our original plan.
But the library staff has said there's been.
We're struggling here in Village Hall too, to be quite frank. Yep. Yep, to be quite frank, we're struggling here in Village Hall too, so. Yep. Yep. Like I said, mentioned, the original plan, because of the quick turnaround and having to make that change last summer, this spring, we wanted to rebid it just to make sure, because it was such a quick bidding process and turnaround time. And now accompanying with some of the quality concerns we've been experiencing, we're absolutely going to look to follow up on that rebidding this spring. Yep.
Andrew, just a couple things real quick. I noticed the gates are down on the dam.
Well, that was a staff, open a couple feet in the winter time so that you don't get ice damming. So that's part of the operation plan, is to leave it open a little bit to let that water flow, although it's fairly frozen at the moment. That's part of the operation plan.
Okay, and then how's salting, plowing, as it's going to, are you ahead, are you behind?
As far as quantity of salt, or,
Yeah, you know, I mean, the seasons, how's it?
right, it's been a pretty slow season as far as, snow, we've had maybe one plowing, it was minimal. Where we had to switch from salting to plowing, so it's been pretty minimal, and I'd say overall, we haven't put a ton of salt down either. We've had a lot of questionable storms where been kind of a hard call. Do we even need salt? Do we know not? You know, been erring on the side of safety, obviously, but I would say we're doing pretty well.
Okay, all right, thanks. Anybody else? All right, that being said, let's move on to item 8. We do have a couple of individuals and their places of employment. Motion for approval.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? That motion passes. Item 9, motion for the approval of payments, $938,832.62.
I'll make a motion.
So we have a motion, we'll take a second over here. The asked and answered emails went out. Any further questions on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? That would be aye. On the online?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then there was a request to postpone closed session until next board meeting. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I entertain a motion to table closed session until the first board meeting in February.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion passes. Item 13, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.